Chandragupta Maurya, architect of imperial power in ancient India. Chapter 1 Introduction The emergence of a foundational emperor. Chandragupta Maurya stands at the structural origin of large scale imperial formation in the Indian subcontinent. His significance isn't derived from the mythology or cultural relevance, but from measurable transformation. He replaced an entrenched ruling order, neutralizing external power structures left by foreign invasion, and constructed a political system that sustained expansion beyond his lifetime. His reign marks the transition from a fragmented regional polities to a coordinated imperial framework centered on Magadha. Unlike rulers who inherit stability, Chandragupta operated in a volatile environment defined by post-Alexandrian disruptions and internal dissatisfactions with the Nanda regime. His rise is therefore not accidental but a product of exploiting systematic instability and converting it into centralized authority. Chapter 2 Historical Context, Collapse, Opportunity, and Strategic Timing. The late 4th century BCE created the precise conditions required for a figure like Chandragupta to emerge. The Nanda Empire, though wealthy and militarily strong, had accumulated internal resentment due to its perceived illegitimacy and heavily handed governance. Simultaneously, the incursions of Alexander the Great into the northwestern India destabilized the regional power structure without creating everlasting control. His withdrawal in 325 BCE and his death in 323 BCE left a fractured stratifice governed by Greek officials lacking long-term legitimacy. His dual-layered instability, internal dissatisfaction, and external fragmentation produced a rare strategic vacuum. Chandragupta didn't create these conditions, he exploited them. Thus, distinction matters. Power accumulators do not wait for stability, they weaponize disorder. Chapter 3 Sources and the Problem of Historical Certainty. The reconstruction of Chandragupta's life is constrained by fragmented and late as well as ideologically biased sources. No contemporary Indian record provides a complete narrative. Instead, historians rely on a combination of Greco-Roman accounts, example Plutarch, Justin, Strabo, Buddhist chronicles such as the Mahavamsa, and Jain texts like the Pashishtaparvan. Brahmanical narratives include the Mudra Rakshasa. Each of these sources are separated from Chandragupta's life by centuries, shaped by religious and political agendas. Greek sources provide external observation but lack internal detail. Indian sources provide narrative depth but are infused with ideological reconstruction. The result is a historical figure whose existence and achievements are certain, but whose personal biography is partially speculative. Origins and social positions, constructed identity and power legitimacy. Chandragupta's origins remain one of the most contested aspects of his life. Various traditions attempt to assign him different social identities, low born or of humble origin. They are given by Greek and some Brahmanical sources, Kshatriya lineage, Buddhist sources seeking legitimacy, connected to peacock symbolism, etymological constructions of the Maurya. This inconsistency isn't accidental, it reflects post facto attempts to align him with different ideological frameworks. The recurring pattern across traditions is that Chandragupta was not initially part of entrenched elite power structure. That is precisely why his rise required strategy rather than inheritance. Chapter 5 Chanakya Strategic Intelligence as a Force Multiplier. The figure Chanakya, also known as Kautilya, represents the intellectual architecture behind Chandragupta's ascent. Whether every detail of their relationship is historically accurate is secondary. The structural role is clear. Chanakya symbolizes calculated statecraft, long-term planning, and the use of unconventional methods, including deception, alliance formation, and resource manipulation. Traditions consistently portray Chanakya as insulted by the Nanda ruler, his vow to dismantle the regime, his identification and training of Chandragupta, the coordinated overthrow of the existing order. This narrative encodes a fundamental principle: raw ambition without strategic design fails. Strategy without an executor remains theoretical. Chandragupta was the executor and Chanakya was the architect. Chapter 6 Early military activity and the northwestern campaigns. Before consolidating Magadha, Chandragupta engaged with the unstable political landscape of the northwest. Greek accounts suggest that local populations, possibly under his leadership, resisted and removed Greek satraps left behind after Alexander. This phase involved recruitment of irregular forces, often described as mercenaries or militias, exploitation of fragmented authority, gradual consolidation of territory in the Indus region. The importance of this phase lies in capacity building. Chandragupta didn't immediately attack Magadha. He first assembled a power base, tested military structures, and developed operational experience. The overthrow of the Nanda dynasty, core power acquisition. The decisive moment in Chandragupta's rise was the defeat of the Nanda dynasty, particularly Dhanananda. This was not a simple battle, but a campaign involving gradual territorial encroachment, strategic positioning of garrisons, use of guerrilla tactics, siege and capture of Patliputra. Some traditions depict initial failure followed by strategic recalibration. This aligns with realistic campaign dynamics. Early miscalculations followed by adaptation, the fall of Nandas transferred control to the Ganges heartland, transferred control of the Ganges heartland to Chandragupta, providing access to resources, population, and administrative infrastructure. This is the inflection point. Before this, he was a contender. After this, he was a ruler. Expansion and consolidation. Building a territorial network. Following the conquest of Magadha, Chandragupta expanded his control across northern India. His empire included the Gangetic Plains, Punjab and parts of the Indus region, Gujarat and central India. However, the nature of this control wasn't uniform. The Mauryan Empire functioned as a network system, core regions under direct administration, peripheral zones connected through trade and military routes, semi-autonomous local elites integrated into the imperial structure. This configuration allowed rapid expansion without requiring depth administrative penetration into every region. It was efficient, scalable, and adaptable. Chapter 9: Conflict and Treaty with Seleucus Nicator I. One of the most historically reliable events in Chandragupta's reign is his interaction with Seleucus I, one of Alexander's successors. Around 305 to 303 BCE, the two powers confronted each other. The outcome was not total war but strategic compromise. Chandragupta gained territories east of Seleucid domains. Seleucus received 500 war elephants. A dynastic marriage alliance was established. This treaty demonstrates Chandragupta's capacity to operate at a level of international diplomacy. He was not merely reacting to foreign powers, he was negotiating with them as an equal. Administrative structure and control decentralization. Chapter 10. Chandragupta's governance system combined central authority with decentralized execution. The state included a council of ministers, the Mantri Parishad, provincial administration, urban and rural governance system, military oversight structures. According to accounts derived from Megasthenes, administration was divided into functional sectors: trade and taxation, justice and law enforcement, infrastructure and irrigation, military logistics. The key principle was not uniform control but structured coordination. Authority radiated outward from the core but relied on local mechanisms for implementation. Chapter 11: Economic Foundation, Infrastructure as Power. Chandragupta's regime heavily invested in economic infrastructure, recognizing that military power without logistical support is unsustainable. Key developments include irrigation systems and reservoirs, road networks connecting major cities, mining and manufacturing centers, standardized state practices. The construction of large-scale roads linking Patliputra to regions like Taxila enabled both economic integration and rapid troop movement. This dual-use infrastructure increased resilience and responsiveness. Chapter 12: Military Organization, Capacity over Glory. The Mauryan military under Chandragupta Maurya was large and systematically organized. Classical accounts suggest a force structure including infantry, cavalry, war elephants, as well as chariots. More important than size was organization. The state maintained control over weapon production and supply chains, ensuring dependency of military capacity on central authority. This reduced the risk of fragmentation and rebellion. Chapter 13: Religion and Ideological Positioning. Chandragupta's religious orientation during his reign appears aligned with Brahmanical practices, including the animal sacrifice and royal rituals. Later traditions, particularly Jain sources, claim that he converted, abdicated, and became an ascetic. The evidence for this conversion is weak and late. It likely reflects retrospective attempts to incorporate him into religious narratives. What is historically clearer that his empire allowed multiple traditions, Buddhism, Jainism, and others to coexist, expand, and particularly under his successors. Abdication and death. Legend versus evidence. Jain traditions assert that Chandragupta renounced power and traveled to south to Shravan Belagola and died through ritual fasting. Salekhana. However, this account is chronologically distant from his lifetime, internally inconsistent, disputed by alternative traditions. The lack of contemporary corroborations means that the narrative cannot be treated as definitive. His final years remain historically ambiguous. Chapter 15. Legacy, Structural Impact and Historical Memory. Chandragupta's legacy operates on multiple levels. First, let's talk about the political legacy. He established the Mauryan dynasty, enabling subsequent rulers, especially Ashok, to expand and institutionalize imperial governance. Point number 2. Administrative legacy. He initiated systems of governance, taxation, and infrastructure that shaped later state formation in the subcontinent. Chapter 3. Chronological Anchor. His identification with Sandracotus allowed synchronization of Indian and Greco-Roman historical timelines. Chapter 4. Ideological Legacy. Later narratives transformed him into a symbol of unity, resistance, and indigenous statecraft, often exaggerating his achievement for national or cultural purposes. Chapter 16. Conclusion. Power acquisition and system construction. Chandragupta Maurya's significance lies not in myth but in execution. He identified systematic weaknesses, mobilized resources, applied strategic intelligence, and constructed a durable political structure. His empire wasn't perfect for a centralized state, nor was it loose confederation. It was a hybrid system optimized for expansion under technological constraints. If stripped of romanticism, the trajectory reduces to a clear sequel: identify instability, build capacity, remove the dominant power, consolidate the core, expand through force and diplomacy, institutionalize control. That sequence is the actual mechanism of his success. Everything else, legends, religious reinterpretations, cultural glorification, is secondary noise layered onto a fundamentally strategic achievement.